the respondents by org that I got into.
I'm not as important as you, so I don't have all of those options, but
the respondents by org is the one that gets you to what you're looking at. So I don't know why you don't have it, Finney, but we'll make sure it's on there. But I think what he did is he built it for the president-elect, and he might have forgot to put the president on there too. So
Hi, Finney. It's Ann. I have a little trouble with my video, but apparently my microphone works.
Is this Ann?
Yep.
Hi, Ann.
Sure is. Hey, have you lost weight? You look like you're slimmer version of yourself.
Well, I don't know if I've lost any weight. In fact, I'm pretty sure I gained some.
Oh, well, anyway, it looks like you have.
It's the black shirt makes it look like.
That's what my dean says.
I only wear black.
So Chris, we'll log off and go off over it. We'll pick back up first thing.
Yeah,
right.
And I mean, Finney, do you want me to just spend some time looking at it so I can familiarize myself with it?
Yeah, I mean the process is pretty straightforward. The politics aren't. So we'll talk about that.
Okay.
Cool. All right. See you in Senate.
Okay. That's a different Zoom link. Okay.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Sorry for butting into a conversation.
No, you weren't butting in. What? So what's going on, Ann?
Oh, just lots of work, and it's only the second day of the semester. Lots of things going on.
Yeah. One of the things that I'm going to mention, I think at the outset is, we couldn't pick a worse time to be doing a faculty senate meeting. I mean, it's constitutionally that we're meeting today, but pragmatically it doesn't make sense.
Because it's so early in the semester?
It should be a week later. I mean, we should at least get into the semester a week, or be the week before, but we don't have any,
Yeah.
But even so, we have a very full agenda, even though it's, the first week of school. For me, it's the inconveniencing of the folk who are doing it.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah. And my fear today is that is making quorum. And if we were meeting face to face today, I don't even know how we'd make that go. So many people so busy.
True.
Yeah.
True. Oh man, guess I'm going to have to get a new video camera for my computer.
I was going to. This one worked so bad at the end of the spring semester that I was going to throw it out, and then right at the end of the semester, it started working properly. So
interesting.
My guess is it'll start acting up as soon as I need it again. So.
Ah, there it is. I plugged it into a different USB port. Now it works.
There you go.
Go figure. Does the microphone still work?
Yep, you're good.
All righty. Going dark and going mute. See you later, Finny.
Okay.
I'm gonna change my name to Zoom user.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Hey, John.
Greetings.
Have we had a look back at that that COVID page yet?
The issue I brought up that it was ancient, yeah, they did a very simple thing. They basically redirected just to, anyway, to an OK page. Bring back the pack or something.
Okay.
So it was, maybe they will bring back the more details, but they've solved the problem by at least getting rid of what looked to be semi-obsolete. Yeah.
Mm.
John Burke, are you there? I'll text you a question.
Hey, Amy. You know, earlier in the summer, the Rio, I don't think I'd ever seen this part of the river that I cross over to get back and forth was about, it looked like it was going to be bone dry, like you could walk across, maybe get your foot stuck in the mud, and now it's looks like we're going to have an overflow into the Bosque. It's amazing how much water's in the Rio Grande right now. Rio Bravo. Hey, Rick, are you there?
Yes,
Can we make sure that we don't have faculty who have gone into the Teams meeting as opposed to this meeting?
sure.
Because
I
there's a, yeah, David has pointed that out for us.
Maybe just send the link back out, the faculty sent it just in case.
Okay. Thank you, David.
Sure. No, because I noticed that when I logged in on my Outlook event, right next to the Zoom link was also a button that said join Teams meeting, and they're right next to each other. So it's just so easy to press the wrong button.
Right, right. And colleagues, can we go ahead and power on our cameras? I know we, thank you. Appreciate that. Wonderful. Wow, Heather, I like that background. That's a great picture.
Thanks. I think there's something wrong with my camera here, so I might be flickering in and out of this meeting, but I'm here.
Okay. We're at 51 participants. That's not all faculty senate. Rick, how close are we to quorum?
Oh, we just achieved it.
Just achieved it. Good. Wonderful. Colleagues, welcome. We'll come to order at 3:03. Rick, if you don't mind noting that for us.
You got it.
Go here again. We have a full agenda today. First off, thanks everyone for making time to come today. I know for many of us, this is the first day we're teaching, or this second day of the semester for us. So I really appreciate the effort. For those of us who still have cameras off, if you could go ahead and, to the degree that you can, if you can't power them on, don't. But if you can, go ahead and turn your cameras on. Colleagues, the first item on our agenda is approval of the agenda. Are there any corrections? Hearing none, the agenda is approved. Colleagues, the second item on our agenda is approval of the April 24th, 2022 meeting minutes. Are there any additions, corrections to those minutes? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. Before we go to the president's report, again, just wanted to welcome the new faculty senators, your first time being with us. Our next meeting will be in person, and we'll have a chance to go around and be more social and introduce ourselves. I'm really looking forward to meeting all of you and working with you over the course of the semester. And again, I'll say it over and over again, thank you so much for serving on this really important committee for our university. We are fortunate to have a new president-elect. The good Dr. Chris Elder will be stepping into the Faculty Senate presidency at the end of this coming academic year. But of course, we'll be working together on items over the next year. This is the first time since I've been Faculty Senate president that we've had a Faculty Senate president-elect, kind of obviously. So we're going to kind of figure out how that's supposed to go. If you need me for something that's urgent and you can't find me, Dr. Elder is, of course, the president-elect, and we would expect that you would pass that information or those questions along to her. Right? We'll wait on our introductions of our new operations committee. We have a great crew pulled together for ops this year. Looking forward to working with that group as well. And we'll do introductions. I'll allow the members of our operations committee to unmute and introduce themselves during the president's report. The third item on our agenda, colleagues, is the president's report from President Stokes. Thank you, President Stokes, for being with us today.
Good afternoon, everyone. And I think my biggest question for all of you is, where did the summer go? I don't know how you feel, and there are those for whom summer doesn't really matter so much, but you know, it was very busy. It's been very busy. I'm glad to be back though with the Faculty Senate, and I thought I'm going to keep it brief, but I want to share with you a few things that have gone on. You know, kind of maybe working back from today, I'll mention that we've had, of course, we had the freshman convocation on Sunday, the first time we've been back in Popejoy for that event. The vibe on campus is really remarkable with welcome back days. Passed out ice cream to a lot of students and staff and faculty, I think, that stopped by. I actually had leadership from our undergraduates telling me that they felt like the vibe on campus was like, well, this person was saying like his freshman year, which was, I think, in 2019. So things are feeling very different, and it's exciting to be back. Of course, throughout the summer, you know, I was focused on an awful lot of retreats. I don't know, in the things you've been doing, how many decided to have retreats this summer, but seems that every organization that I have an affiliation with, where I'm a leader on a board, had a retreat. So an awful lot of that going on, but it was very productive. Some of it with groups like the Council of Presidents, talking about planning for higher education in New Mexico for this coming legislative session, and some issues that are facing higher education, like such as student mental health and various initiatives. I also am on the board of the Hispanic colleges and universities, and we had a retreat talking about issues for Hispanic serving institutions. The Board of Regents had a retreat where we talked about a lot of things like 2040 and student mental health. I'll tell you, there's a theme here with some of the things that were often discussed. Most recently, the University of New Mexico Foundation had a retreat where they were talking about strategic planning for earning more, gathering more private support for initiatives that might come out of our 2040 Opportunity Defined Plan. That was one of the most positive meetings that I've been to with the foundation for quite some time. Of course, one of my primary roles is building the private support for the institution. So my summer was also filled with some donor visits and and watching the board for the foundation talk about the university with such excitement was a really, really nice way to go into the weekend and then start classes this week. Of course, our Board of Regents met just recently on August 16th. They approved our RPSBs, those research and public service projects that are one avenue for us to get funding to various programs at UNM. And so that'll go before the Higher Education Committee soon. But what was also interesting is we had a discussion about budget priorities. And I know that many faculty don't get the chance to spend time listening to a Board of Regents meeting. It's always good to have leadership from faculty there. So I want to thank Vinny for his role there. But a discussion of budget priorities, and it's pretty clear. It's true for the council presidents. It's true for the University of New Mexico that working on our salaries continues to be our top priority. And so we'll talk more about that this fall as we plan our strategy for the upcoming legislative session. I held some receptions for a couple of groups, new faculty. It is always wonderful to see the new faculty that are coming to our campus. They were at University House last Monday. Then we had a retired faculty and staff reception at the house, and that brought in a lot of people because we were covering 2 years worth of retirements, but a lot of people that continue to be engaged with UNM, and it's always just a pleasure to have everyone at the house. You might have missed the fact that you can tell there's some building going on campus. I mean, and there are some pains associated with that. You can already see on the skyline that the parking garage for the hospital and that hospital tower are just going up amazingly. They've completely changed the skyline, and some other things that are happening as well. We broke ground on the College of Nursing and Public Health Excellence building just in the last couple of weeks. If you're over on the corner of Central and Girard, you'll see that a project that really got support and funding from our student leaders. It's an improvement there on that corner for which is supposed to be done sometime in November. Of course, we'll be pushing for the GO bond. It'll be on the ballot this November. And our projects include our arts project and also a childhood psychiatric building, as well as support for libraries. So that will eventually lead to even more activity on the campus. At the Board of Regents meeting, we did unveil a new mental health initiative. And this was a result of a lot of conversations that have taken place across the entire campus about the challenges that it's not just our students, our faculty and staff have these challenges as well. But initially, it's been about how do we make sure that we're able to meet the demands and needs of our students going into fall semester. This is a national issue. And so we unveiled a plan that I am very appreciative to Vice President Asada Zarai and Stephanie McIver, who is our interim leader for SHAC, really putting together a plan that involves us providing additional resources for additional support in terms of staff, in terms of counselors and other kinds of support for them. This summer, we also contributed to the National Student Experience Project, and this has been of interest to a lot of different groups. It's an initiative of the American Public Land Grant University, APLU organization. And our academic affairs group under Pamela Cheek has been heavily involved in this project, which is intended to allow our students to earn their undergraduate degrees in an environment that is as welcoming and as inclusive as possible. Just recently, we also celebrated 50 years of Title IX by sponsoring a training on campus for the state and the region, and it was well attended. So, there's so much more I could probably share with you, but I would just want to say it's going to be a very busy fall semester for everyone. I was really happy to be part of the faculty governance retreat that took place just a couple of weeks ago. And I know we're looking to have further conversation, but really welcome the opportunity to, talk about where we're headed and to build and strengthen our relationships working together. So with that, as I understand it, Dr. Coleman, we often move directly to the provost reports, and then people can ask us questions together. Do you want to continue that practice?
Yeah, unless without objection, I imagine there will be questions for you and for the provost.
And I'll stay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yes, please, Provost Holloway.
Thank you, President Coleman. Thanks everyone for your time. Rick, can I share screen?
Yes.
Okay, hopefully you see a lovely PowerPoint. So thanks everyone, thanks for your time and thanks for your service on Faculty Senate. So I have a few slides here that I'll go through hopefully relatively quickly. Some of them complement some of the points that President Stokes was making. Let me just kind of a few updates, section here called Faculty Action. So we have about 145 new faculty joining us at UNM, 95 of these in the health sciences, 50 outside of the health sciences. And you can see the breakdown there of the folks outside health sciences. About half are persons of color, over half are female. Also this summer, we did 118 promotions, 91 of those in the tenure track, promotions and appointments, and 27 lecturers. So a lot of really amazing faculty coming through the promotion and tenure process. Just really incredible scholarship and incredible contributions to teaching that we're seeing. So really happy to see that. A couple of new leaders joining UNM. So Mike Holtzclaw here on the right is joining us as the new chancellor at UNM Los Alamos. Mike has 27 years of experience in higher ed, and just couldn't be happier than to have him joining us. And then on the right, I'm sorry, on the left, Sam Dosumu is joining as the chancellor of UNM Valencia. Sam is in the early days, I would say, of a 30-year career across 5 states. And while his latest work was with Pueblo Community College in Colorado, he's actually been a native of New Mexico for quite some time. He has been living in Farmington, but now down in Valencia. So great to have Sam and Mike joining us. Also joining us is Eric Scott, Vice President for Student Affairs, coming to us from Boise State and previously from University of Alaska Southeast, as well as a number of other institutions. So it's great to have Eric joining us. Look for him around campus here in Albuquerque. I'd also like to thank Jenna Crabb and Tim Gutierrez, who in sequence served as the interim vice president for student affairs during the last year after Cheo left us. So really excited to have Eric with us. I want to say a little bit about research metrics, and we're really very excited to see where our research is going, at least measured by awards and expenditures. We've seen a 16% increase in research expenditures through Office of Sponsored Programs. That's a 5-year high. And through, we look at both OSP and HSC, about 10, 11, 12% increases in the number of awards being earned at UNM. So again, very productive faculty reaching out and developing this funding. I wanted to say just a little bit about the Grand Challenges Initiative. First, just, I think folks know about the 3 main Grand Challenges that we've had going on in sustainable water, substance use disorders, and successful aging. And excuse me, really the point I wanted to make here is this really has borne fruit. Substance use disorder has successfully brought a NIH center to UNM. And Water Resources is leading a multi-institution NSF network, again, that have both come out of the work of the Grand Challenges. And for what was really a couple of $1 million investment in UNM, one-time funds, we've received over 50 million in grant funding. So it really has borne fruit in that sense. And these groups have been doing great work. Vice President for Research, Helen Fisher, has been reimagining grant challenges, kind of what's next, and has developed a three-phase program in which we create new concept teams that might graduate into full grant challenge teams. Then in the next phase, select out of those concept teams a few to advance to larger scale grant challenge teams. And phase 3, which is where the water resources and substance use disorders are, is to move into the development of externally funded center status. And so that's the kind of flow we hope for in grant challenge programs. And the 10 new concept teams, and hopefully folks can join the formal launch event on September 1st. The 10 new concept teams are the ones you see here: space science, just transitions, meaning just transitions in energy, housing justice, basic needs in higher ed, child health research, mental health and suicide prevention, culturally responsive literacy, indigenous child development milestones, equity in STEM education, and data science education and data literacy. And all UNM campuses, HSC, the rest of the Albuquerque campus, all 4 branches are involved in these concept teams in various ways. So we're really excited to see Grand Challenges continuing to contribute to the knowledge that supports New Mexico and contribute to the intellectual life on our campus. Just a couple of things in student success that I want to mention. So the Peer Learning Facilitators program is one that we've really been ramping up. We really invested in it during the pandemic as a way to help students maintain their success during difficult times. And this is a program where undergraduate students are trained to join in course instructional teams and serve as peer facilitators, where they bring really their familiarity with where students are into teaching and into supporting students as they work through difficult challenges in courses. And we've had over 4,800 undergraduates served by these peer learning facilitators over the last couple of years. And so another cohort of 30 more learning facilitators will be firing up this fall. And we're seeing a lot of positive impact from the peer learning facilitators. So we're continuing that program with a collection of some PERF funds, some RPSP funds, a new HSC HRSA grant, and hopefully that'll become just a regular part of the instructional program at UNM. Another program I just want to mention that's really brand new, we're piloting over the next couple of years, called Lobo Grow. And we have shamelessly stolen the name from Iowa Grow with permission. But really this is a pilot program to try and make student employment much more of a learning and developmental environment. And so we have staff supervisors all over campus committed to supporting students in student employment as a developmental and learning opportunity. And so the libraries, Johnson Gym, Sub, some various research labs are all in to really think of student employment not as just a way to fill up hours and earn some money, but really to be developmental, to help students, help the student employees understand how to present their work in a resume, how to relate their formal classroom experiences to their jobs, how to but also how to build a career ladder, and so go from entry-level student employee jobs to increasing responsibilities as they spend time working with us here at UNM. So again, brand new pilot program, but it's had some good success at other institutions, and so we're hoping it will be one that really works here at UNM as well. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about, students. It's a little more student stuff. Just a little bit of student retention data. This is very preliminary. It'll be a few weeks before we have definitive data on student enrollments and student retention. But we did see an increase in first-year student retention from first term to third term, up about 3 percentage points over previous terms. So we have moved in the right direction. We're not yet at pre-COVID levels on student retention from first term to third term for new entering the first-year students. So we do have some work to keep going there, but at least we're moving in the right direction in terms of retaining students. And speaking of students overall, as President Stokes mentioned, they're back. We've got over 3,500 new first-year students. This is the largest class since 2016, maybe 2015. New transfers, also a high with over 1,300, up almost 19%. So a lot of success in bringing in new undergraduates at the first year and transfer levels. New graduate enrollment is down by about 25%. In some ways, not surprising. Students graduating from the university were able to find employment opportunities in ways they hadn't during the pandemic. So when we compare to a pandemic year, we might see that. Nevertheless, that's an area that we collectively really need to work on to really think about how we can optimally grow graduate enrollment and what's the right size of graduate enrollment for UNM. Overall, the Albuquerque headcount on the first day of classes was exactly the same as last year, 21,512. That's the first year that we haven't gone down in quite a while in overall headcount. And the reason we see first year students going up, but headcount remaining the same is we're not, our returning students are down. And so that's a combination of students graduating, that's a good thing, but also students leaving us at the mostly sophomore, junior, or before completing their senior year, and the same with graduate students. So that's why there's retention, that retention work is so important. Branches, overall headcount is up. That's also good. Some differences between the branches, but we won't go into the details. I did want to show this picture. So yesterday, first day of classes, all kinds of new student events going on. Rainstorm at about 5, and this picture was taken at 5:30, right outside Skulls Hall here. I think it bodes well for the new semester. So very excited. And then I did want to follow up with some details about budget. And so this is part of our conversation from the faculty governance retreat, where we talked about, it would be good to show more information to more audiences about kind of where's the university's budget, how do we think about allocating the resources that we have. And so I'll start with this picture, which is since fiscal year 10. And so way over on the left is fiscal year 10, way over on the right is fiscal year 23. The red bars are budget reductions. And this, by the way, is academic affairs here in Albuquerque. So it's not the branches, it's not HSC, it's not finance and administration. This is just academic affairs here in Albuquerque. So back in fiscal year 10, if we look all over on the left, there was about a $2.3 million budget reduction. And there was 750,000 in new allocations that year. We keep moving then over to the towards the right, towards the present time. We see this pattern of a number of years with budget reductions, but I really want to point at fiscal year 21. $21 million budget reduction just in academic affairs, just in Albuquerque. That's COVID. That's the result of the June 2020 budget reduction that the state had to undertake. And so that's, I think it's worth remembering where we're coming from. We're coming from that $21 million reduction. The next 2 fiscal years, fiscal 22, which just ended, no budget reductions. In academic affairs, we allocated about $4.1 million out to the schools and colleges. This is only allocations of new money It's not the total budget, but allocations of new money. Fiscal 23, we expect to allocate, that's this year, we expect to allocate about 9.3 million in new funds, new recurring funds out to the units. And so hopefully we can maintain that trend, but that depends a lot on enrollment and continuing to increase state support. And I should mention as well, this particular set of allocations does not include compensation increases. It doesn't include the annual compensation increases. So it's meant to be exclusive of that. Where do those funds get spent? So if we look at the last 5 years of allocations from academic affairs, this is how they break down. There's about 60% of this that went to faculty support in various ways. So faculty lines, you'll see about 6.4 million. Faculty retention, equity, and recruiting, about 2.6 million. Faculty promotions, that's the salary bumps that come along in the promotion, about 2.3 million. So all of those three wedges together about just over 60% of the total. Student success, we put in about 1.7 million in new recurring funding. Student recruiting, about 1.4 million. That's a fairly new wedge. One of the things we've been purposefully and strategically doing is investing in student recruiting, because growing our student body is critical, both to meeting our mission, which is educating the students of New Mexico and the world, but also towards ensuring state support. They want to see that we're actually educating students, and towards revenue generation through tuition. The yellow wedge here, which says graduate assistantship support. This is actually only a part of graduate assistant support, but every year we allocate out funds to cover tuition increases for graduate assistants. And so that's new funding allocated out every year. That's separate from other funds that are provided for graduate assistantships. For example, we provide $1 million every year to graduate studies, to a little over $1 million to allocate out for graduate assistantships. That's just a recurring allocation. It's not something we do new every year. And so again, we're only showing new recurring allocations. Library acquisitions, $1 million. Strategic support, and then support staff, the other two wedges here. So I wanted to just give folks a sense of how the new allocations are distributed out. And this is a snapshot since fiscal 19. If we just look at the retention, equity, and recruiting investments, then this is what we see from fiscal 19 to fiscal 23. We've been talked about this before. We're purposefully trying to ramp that up, purposefully trying to increase the amount of funding that we're putting into retaining faculty, addressing equity issues, both equity within UNM, but also equity across higher education to bring our salaries up to competitive levels, as well as recruiting new faculty. So again, we're continuing to try and grow that, and that's our plan, is to continue to increase the amount of new funding that we can invest in retention, equity, and recruiting for faculty. And then finally, the last eye chart, if you will, I just wanted to show, again, the previous charts did not include the annual compensation increases that are done. So I did want to show separately those allocations and kind of what they look like. And if we take a typical year here, right in the middle, it says fiscal year 19, about 850,000 was allocated for faculty salaries. That was a 1% increase year. Of those funds, and then it also shows staff and graduate assistantships. Of those funds, the state allocated 48%. So the state provided less than half of that, for example, 850,000 for faculty. Come over to fiscal 23, all the way on the right, effectively a 7.12% increase in salaries. That's 8 million for faculty, again, within academic affairs. So non-HSC units in Albuquerque. Of that, the state provided 88% on the first 3%, 70% on the remaining 4% of that 7% increase. So all totaled about 12 million, 12.7 million. So I just want folks to get a sense of where those, what those compensation increases look like over time. And I think that's it. And I will stop there and stop sharing. And I'm sure that the president and I are happy to have questions.
Any questions, colleagues? Glenn?
Hi, thanks. So this is a question for Provost Holloway about the slide where you mentioned that this fiscal year, you'll be putting more money into retention, equity, and recruiting. And I was wondering how that money makes its way into colleges and departments. So if like our college knows that we have some equity issues, what's the process for that, I guess?
Sure. So we allocate to colleges, and then within colleges, deans allocate within departments. Of those funds in there that are directed towards equity, let's use arts and sciences as an example. Arts and sciences identified a group of faculty, I think it was about 90 of them, whom they thought were that it would be most important to provide some kind of adjustment to. And so we funded that. And there's a little bit of an iteration. We want to, you know, we take a look at, okay, who are you trying to fund and why? And then we allocate the funds out to the colleges. And so within colleges, it's really a college level process. And the deans are pretty active in looking across their faculty and their departments to try and determine where do we have the greatest needs. Some have done some very formal studies. Anderson has done a very formal study. College of Fine Arts is in the middle of doing a fairly formal study of those needs and differences. And so what we do in academic affairs is really ask the deans to make their needs known. I will say that we cannot in any one year fund everything that is identified. And so we do have to make choices about where we're going to put funds in any one time. We are working on a process to, so we're looking at a new set of data, new set of nationally normed data of about 170 APL universities on faculty salaries to give us a little bit more systematic way to distribute at the college level. It still requires, I think, at the departmental level, you really have to look at each department's assessment of not just need, but also merit. And so, and time and rank, for example. So we may know, for example, that the average salary for professors in, I don't want to pick a real discipline. So the average need for salaries in cosmic telepathy is $100, but not all of our faculty are at that average point. We may have lots of brand new assistant professors who wouldn't expect them to be making the average. We may have lots of senior faculty. You might expect them to make more than that average. So there's still judgments and analysis required at the college and departmental level to figure out where any particular allocation of funds should most appropriately be applied. But we're trying to at least get data that lets us at the college level identify, or perhaps disciplinary level, where is there the most need to distribute funds. Right now, it's a little bit more driven by the deans making their case rather than us being able to look across the whole institution and identify where the greatest needs are. I hope that helps.
Thank you. Jo Ellen?
Hi, thank you for the report. I'm Ellen Schimmels from the College of Nursing, and I just wanted to see if there's a way to where the information is going to be about that for that September 1st event with the concept teams and how faculty could get involved with that. There might be an email coming out, but I don't want to miss it. So I was hoping to find out where I could get that information.
We will try and I'm going to actually try and Google search it real quick right here, but certainly make note, Joellen, that you're looking for that.
David?
Yeah, hi. This is a question for President Stokes. When you were talking before about various initiatives concerning SHAC and student health, I had a question. And this may be more of an HSC question. Is the university in any way looking at the impacts of long COVID? I'll speak for myself. I had COVID this summer. I am finding, and I'm finding it's more common than I would have expected, the lingering results of COVID, things like fatigue, brain fog, cognitive deficits, et cetera, are no longer an abstraction that I'm reading about in the newspaper. They're quite real. And I just don't know if the university has had any conversations about how to address such issues. And this may be more of an issue for faculty and staff than for students. Not that these issues are, or that these problems or symptoms are limited to people above a certain age, but they seem to be, at least from what I've read, more common among people aged 40 to 60, give or take. Therefore, people who maybe represent a lot of our faculty and staff who've had COVID.
I really appreciate you bringing this up. This issue hasn't really been brought in front of me. I feel certain that some of those conversations are going on, but if what I would like to do is take this to the leadership team and find out exactly what we may be doing related to that, and very, very interested in having that conversation. So I've been reading what's in the news, but hadn't really been hearing from individuals on a campus about the very real impact that's likely taking place.
Thank you.
Colleagues, are there any other questions for the president or the provost?
Dr. Coleman, it did put a link in the chat that's to the Grand Challenges website events section, and the September 1st kickoff is the first item on the list.
Okay, wonderful. And there's the grant. I see that. Thank you. Any other questions? I have maybe one or two. Provost Holloway, really good for us to hear the good news about the number of people who are coming in, but can you provide a little bit more clarity on the numbers for people of color who are coming in, who are part of that cohort? I believe it was 100 and X that are coming in, 50-ish that are not going to be in the Health Science Center, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, there's 50 outside of health, and my statistic that about half of those are persons of color was on the 50. I don't have that data. I don't have that data for the health sciences, so it's up to 50. Okay,
that's what I was going to ask, is what do those numbers look like for the entirety of the pool? And I have to hope that those numbers are the same, are similar. All right. I'm going to hold off on. I was going to ask a question about something else, but I'll leave it for another time. Colleagues, any last questions for President Stokes or Provost Holloway? Okay. Well, I think I will ask.
Did you say that the next meeting of the Faculty Senate will be in person?
Yes.
Yay.
I look forward to that. Thank you.
It'll be in Scholes Hall. I think I'm going to go ahead and ask that one question, because if not, I'll kick myself later. The Faculty Senate puts forth resolutions from time to time, and I was looking back over them, and the resolutions that we put forward about green initiatives and divestment called for some response back from the administration to the faculty senate about the progress that we've made or not made in terms of the goals in those resolutions. And so it's unfair to put you on the spot, I think, to ask about what that looks like now. But I guess would you, I'm assuming that the two of you would be the proper individuals to report back to the faculty senate on where we are with those resolutions. Am I correct?
Thank you for that, President Coleman. And I will say that there has been activity going on a number of fronts. I think that in addition to what I might bring and James might bring, Teresa Costandinides would be another person who she's actually here in the Senate meeting. She is the champion for Goal 4 of 2040. And within that goal are a number of things tied to issues of climate and sustainability. So we'd welcome the opportunity to put something together and bring it to this body or put it in writing, however you'd like to see us do it.
Okay. Wonderful. And colleagues, I would encourage you to go and read the resolutions that the faculty senate passed a year or so ago. And Caroline Scruggs, I think, is with us today. And people, I don't want to miss anyone who was instrumental in pulling those together, but I know Caroline was very instrumental in making those go. So I'm really looking forward to hearing back from the administration about our progress towards those. There are actually a couple of resolutions that looking back, we probably should revisit as a faculty senate, but I'll talk about those at another point. Colleagues, any other questions for the president or provost? Hearing none. Thank you, President Stokes. Thank you, Provost Holloway.
Thank you.
Colleagues, the next item on our agenda is the Faculty Senate President's Report. I have a few things that I want to talk with you about. The first is the Faculty Governance Retreat. It was an opportunity for members of the Operations Committee, AF&T, the Committee on Governance, as well as leadership from the union to come together to talk about faculty governance, shared governance. I thought we had a very good outcome. One of the things that we want to do is to convene that group of leaders again mid-semester. So we're looking forward to, we're still, I think, hashing out dates, if I'm not mistaken. Nancy can correct me if I'm wrong, but we should soon have a good date for that retreat. And I'll report back out on that at the proper time. We're working through committee selections, fell behind on those, and that's largely my fault at the end of the spring semester, and playing catch up to get all of the committees filled for the fall and spring. But we're having, we're coming to a crisis point in terms of service that I don't want to over exaggerate. But as Faculty Senate President, each year the number of people who sign up for faculty committees has steadily decreased. Right now we have about 58 people who are signed up who say they want to serve out of a faculty of 2,000. Now, in fairness, we have a new system and many people don't yet know about that. I'll take the blame for that as well. We need to do a better job of explaining to our faculty how the faculty committee preference survey functions now. Remember that all the members on this body have dibs on committees. Basically, if you look out as a faculty senator and you find a committee that you want to sit on, your position as a faculty senator trumps the requirements, so to speak, to get on those committees. If there's a vacancy there and you want to fill it, I'm happy to have you. But more important, we need to reach out to our colleagues and share, what's going on from the administration and what's happening in faculty governance, but also to encourage our colleagues to be willing to step up and serve on our committees. Those committees are the heart and soul of faculty governance on our campus, and they're an important complement to shared governance on our campus. And so we really do need more people to serve. And again, one of the reasons I want to say, again, thank you for agreeing to serve on this committee. There is I would like for us to entertain over the course of the year and hope actually over the fall semester, a resolution that came about towards the end of, I guess after at the end of the legislative session, it became clear that certain senators, certain politicians in Santa Fe, if they had their way, our state would look much like Florida, where the lecture that I gave yesterday to the students in my African American literature course would have landed me in jail perhaps, or at least in trouble with the law. And that what I'm teaching, and in terms of things derived from critical race theory, just amazing to me that in the state of Florida, that lecture would have been against the law yesterday. We, I think, as a body, have a responsibility to protect academic freedom at all turns and at all costs. And so I hope that some of you will be willing to join me in a small caucus to talk about what that resolution might look like, and hopefully have that resolution developed and on the table before we get to the next legislative session, where I imagine these politicians will come back again with efforts to outlaw certain parts of our academic enterprise. So if you would, please reach out to me offline if you're interested in working on that resolution. This year, we're going to begin experimenting towards the end of this semester with a caucus system. Right now, our faculty senate is kind of unidirectional in terms of information flow. About the only time that our faculty senators get a chance to share out what's coming from their units is the question and answer periods that we have. And if anyone has any comments or anything at the end of a meeting, this caucus system would allow people who are in certain pockets in the university, say in arts and sciences, to meet and talk about the issues that are germane to that group and bring those then to the faculty senate as they see fit, as they need to be addressed. And so I'll need help also. We'll work through this obviously through the operations committee, but for people who are interested in helping us to think through what that caucus system should look like, I welcome your participation. Again, we'll have a face-to-face meeting in September and throughout the fall semester. I'm glad that we're able to do that. It's been a long time since we as a body have been able to come together to meet face-to-face. Very much looking forward to that. And we'll meet in the Roberts Room. I can't wait for that meeting next month. I think we also need to seriously consider looking back at the first meeting of the year for the Faculty Senate and perhaps the final meeting of the year for Faculty Senate. This meeting, I think, would be better if it were next week, not this week. Gives us a chance to get back as faculty senators, at least have some of our departmental meetings and the like, and have an opportunity to get our feet on the ground before we're in our first Faculty Senate meeting. And then at the end of the year, it makes some sense, I think, to move that meeting up in a way that we can have a meaningful Faculty Senate meeting that doesn't get stepped on by the exam process and the like, but we can talk about that as we go along. As of this afternoon, and Nancy, please correct me if I'm wrong, I believe there are still 2 vacancies on the Academic Freedom and Tenure Committee.
You are correct. You are correct.
And while I know we all have a heavy workload, that committee is extremely important to the success of our university. And if you know of good colleagues who are, have gone through that tenure and promotion process and who are willing to serve, please share out so that we can flesh out that committee before we go into the fall semester. Dr. Nancy Lopez has some information that I want to share with you. I'm actually going to see if I can pop up on the screen a flyer. And colleagues, I ask unanimous consent to recognize Dr. Lopez to talk to us about this diversity, equity, and inclusion requirement as part of the president's report. Do I have any objections? Hearing none, I'd like to recognize Dr. Lopez. And Nancy, do you have that flyer? Can you pop it up, or I can pop it up? Uh-huh. Okay. Thank you, Nancy. Colleagues, do we have any questions for Dr. Lopez? Olivia? Any other questions, colleagues? Any questions for me regarding the president's report? Hearing none. Colleagues, the next item on our agenda is our consent agenda. We will use our poll to take our vote. On the consent agenda is our summer 2022 degree candidates that we'll need to vote on. Curricula forms from the curricula committee, and committee appointments. Rick, can we go ahead and pop up relevant information on the, can you share screen with relevant information on our consent agenda, please? Okay. We have these three colleagues to appoint to committees. Do we have anything on the Form Cs or any curricular forms from the curricular committee? Thank you, Rick. And do we have, just for the sake of numbers, I should know this and I don't. What were our numbers over the summer, Rick, please? Okay, maybe Rick didn't catch me on that. Oh, there we go. Those are the numbers, colleagues. Okay. Rick, can we go ahead and post the poll, please?
Okay, it passed 45 with 2 abstentions.
Okay, thank you, colleagues. The consent agenda passes. Colleagues, the next item on our agenda is an information item regarding multi-year planning that we asked the Executive Vice President Konstantinidis to present for us today. And I believe I saw her just a second ago. There you go. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, colleagues, do we have any questions? So,
Yeah, can I ask a question? So this is amazing, very good. And on your model, so I'm just drilling into a little detail. You had your production of cookies and you had presumably a certain number of people. How, and presumably that's somehow matched to how much you can sell. But what I don't understand at UNM, let's call this is unfair, the people that build the cookies, those are our teachers, and the people that advertise, maybe those are administrators, I don't know. How do you adjust that to get the best amount of ultimate product that can be sold? And I didn't, is that part of your job or is that somebody else's job?
Um, any other questions? So I wonder, I can't imagine how many times you've had to go through that deck in presentations and the like. Is there any way that the next time that you go through and it's a full on going through that we could get that recorded? Because I'd really like to be able to have a link that we can go back to and hear you talk through these things as expertly as you do, and not be rushed as and compressed like we are today. I mean, there's a lot for all of us to learn from that model. Is that something that you would consider doing for us? I Yeah. Well, maybe we towards the end of this semester, maybe or at the beginning of the next semester. But we'd love to have you back. I think I'm speaking for everyone. Would love to. Yeah. So thank you for that. And we'll look forward to those two presentations. I'll also make sure, Rick, if we could make sure that we send that deck out to the faculty senate so that we all have that available to share out. Thank you. I have a question for you. So when I think maybe 6 months or a year after you arrived on campus, I was in a presentation where it was basically a doomsday scenario where we had, I think revenues were headed this way and expenses. And when those two lines crossed, I think the universe was going to explode or something, right? Yeah. Where are we in regards to that? Because I remember you saying that we had enough time to pull out of that dive. Where are we relative to? Because that's 2025 or 2026 that we would, yeah, okay. Yeah. I think there's also an opportunity. It's been useful to me to understand a little bit better about the finances of the university because it has explanatory power for things that seem to be inexplicable within academic units. And maybe this is something that you and the provost might present on. So for example, an academic unit might see, great demand from international students to come and join an academic program. And the university is saying, hey, we want to have more international students. And yet we don't have the resources that we need to take care of those students if we bring them through the door. And so we have to truncate the number that we can actually bring in. But sometimes there are financial realities that aren't perfectly clear that explain those shortcomings or shortfalls. So, I think it would be useful to all of us to better understand what we say we want and actually what we're able to do. Those are often very different things, at least on the surface. I don't know if the provost has any thoughts on that.
Thanks, Vinny. I think you said it very well. What we want to do or think we should do is sometimes difficult to do from where we are. I think there's a slide in Teresa's presentation that's sometimes easy to miss, where she's showing the 4 boxes. She's got the balance sheet and the income statement, and she points at one of the items in the income statement, which is expenses, and says that's the mission. And the point is that because we're mission driven, not profit driven, our goal is not to maximize the difference between income and expenses. In some sense, our goal is to maximize expenses in the sense that we spend to complete our mission. And we don't want to spend badly. We don't want to do our mission in a way that makes it too expensive. But our purpose is to do the work, not to have a net income. But we have to have a net income because otherwise we can't operate.
Right. Yeah, our mission seems to be making cookies, and not so much.
Really good. Really good cookies.
Okay. Well, thank you both. I know that I appreciate that report. Colleagues, the next item on our agenda is our enrollment update from Vice President Dan Garcia, who is here with us. Dan, are you ready to go? We have we can see your slide.
Guess I need to unmute. You'd think I would have done that by now.
There we go.
Okay. Hope this is the right one. It should be the right one. So thank you for this opportunity. We've got some good news to share. And I want to thank the faculty in particular for the efforts that you make to help recruit and retain students. One of the things putting this together is trying to anticipate what are some of the questions or what are some of the things you might want or need to know. We want you to know, number one, that we have a comprehensive enrollment plan. We began developing this in 2019. It's an ongoing process, but it's been built out very well, and it's helped guiding our efforts. Some numbers to show you. I won't go through all of these, but effectively our first year applications were down overall about 2%. We knew we needed to admit some more students in order to make up for yield. And so ultimately we admitted about 14% more first year students. That served us well, and I'll show you why in a moment. And by the way, African-American students, we admitted 25% more African-American students, which translated into 150 more offers. Hispanic, 15% more, which translated into 750 more offers of admission. So we really made an effort, even though we were down in applications, including those by race and ethnicity, to make an effort to make more offers of admission. Transfer applications were up. We made more offers of admission. Graduate, particularly master's student applications, were down 20%, and offers were down about the same percentage. We saw some very unusual last couple of years, fall of 2020 and 21, where we had about 20% each year more new master's level students coming in. Those were really odd years, and you're going to see in a moment our anticipated enrollment this fall is about in line with what we've been seeing in those more consistent regular years. Provost Holloway talked a little bit about the increase in transfer and first year students. You can see that we're up over 13% in first year registrations as of the first day. I will correct something he said. This is the first time we've been above 3,500 since 2013. So this is substantial improvement. And when you look at the last few years, we have we've done exceptionally well. So when you look at the history going back to 2016, there's been sort of this constant slide up until 2020. We've been seeing consistent increases. We're projecting that probably by census we'll lose about 30 students. That'll put us about 3,500. When you look at national numbers from 2019 to 21, nationally, public universities were down 9.2%. So we have done, again, exceptionally well in this really tough environment. Transfer enrollment is going to be up. It's going to get us closer to where we were 6 or so years ago. When we look at our largest feeder, C&M, we see over the past 10 years that it's declined total enrollment by about 35%. It's no coincidence over the last 10 years, we have seen a decline in transfer student enrollment by about 35%. But as they begin to rebound, the two-year institutions, I think we're going to see those transfer numbers continue to go up. And of course, the Opportunity Scholarship plays a really big role in encouraging those students to come to UNM. New graduate enrollment, once again, is going to get back to where it has been in the range of 900 or possibly 975. Really where it's been for a substantial number of years. We just had these really odd years the last couple falls. We also know that there's very, very low unemployment and demand for workers. So it may be creating some pause among those students who want to come back for an advanced degree. When we look at total enrollment, we think that we're going to be largely flat. When you look at the first day enrollment number, total enrollment at the University of New Mexico here in Albuquerque, it was identical to the first day numbers last year. So we think we're going to be largely flat. The good news is that we think we're probably going to be up just a little bit in terms of semester credit hours, but nothing really too too significant. But again, this is really important for us to begin to reverse this ongoing decline of total enrollment at the institution. A few other things I want to point out just for awareness, and many of you are, that there's this demographic cliff coming. It means fewer high school graduates. This graph represents largely public school, well, entirely public schools. We know that there are probably 1,000 more high school graduates at most from the private institutions in the state. But you can see the arrow shows where we're at now. We're going to see a slight rise, but we're going to lose by 2035 in this slow decline about 3,000 high school graduates each year. That is going to put more pressure on us, particularly with 42 colleges and universities in the state. When you look at the West, where we recruit the majority of our non-residents, they're going to see a similar decline beginning about 2025, 2026. So we do need to invest in new strategies for recruitment. And I appreciate very much the investments that have been made thus far. We look at lots of different modeling scenarios, particularly for financial aid and scholarships. We look at independent variables that influence or predict student enrollment. So when we look at first-year students in the state of New Mexico, ISER is really just an acronym for FAFSA. Students that submit a FAFSA from New Mexico to us that we admit come to us over 50% of the time. Those that do not submit a FAFSA that we admit come about 20% of the time. That may seem pretty low. It's actually relatively good among public four-year institutions in the nation. However, we are continually encouraging and supporting through workshops and other means students to get their FAFSA information to us. We can look at other independent variables, just simply where the student's coming from. And we're fortunate that over 50% of students in Bernalillo, Albuquerque, Rio Rancho, that we make an offer of admission to, come to the University of New Mexico. We're fortunate to live in a major, large metropolitan area. But we also look at a comprehensive modeling scenario, and we look at 7 of the top variables that seem to indicate student likelihood to enroll. Number 1 is that FAFSA. Number 2 is where they're from. Number 3 is net charges. And we have done a lot of research on this. What it does, it allows us to model students based on a combined score. And the score ranges from about 1 to 10. And those at the top of the scoring will yield us about 59, 60%. We use financial aid and scholarship modeling, not as other institutions do, to only accept and try to bring in those with ability to pay. You can see from this modeling over to the right that the average need for students is actually quite high and then declines as yield also decreases. So we're constantly looking at, are we offering enough institutional aid and other discretional unmet need types of grants to students to support their enrollment at the University of New Mexico. So this is the last slide. This has not been built out by the budget office. So Teresa, this is maybe one of the first times you're seeing this, but this is based on our assessment of net revenue, actually gross net revenue among the first year class coming in this year, based on what they are paying in tuition and fees, room and board, minus institutional aid. Does not take into consideration federal or state grant programs. And our projection is that we're bringing in another $10 million in terms of revenue because of the size of this first year class. Because total enrollment is flat, and because our budget, the university's budget this year was built based on flat enrollment, we don't have a $10 million windfall. This money has already been accounted for. But once again, investment in recruitment and retention of students has been very important because it's contributing to the entire budget of the institution in meaningful, important ways. So that's all I have. I'd be happy to answer questions.
Any questions, colleagues? I know that we're a little bit beyond our, just a couple of minutes behind schedule, but Dan, I wanted to ask, looking at this cliff that's coming, I was at an institution where we would look at significantly younger students who are doing well. Let's say honors students who are in the 8th grade or the 9th grade now, and offer them a conditional admit. Basically, if you continue to do what you're doing, we're going to admit you to UNM. Congratulations. And it was pretty surprising. I think it was always surprising to me, at least, how many of those students actually showed up 4 or 5 years later because they were conditionally admitted when they were much younger. Are we using innovative strategies similar to that, or what are we doing to kind of creatively to address this cliff that we're about to face?
We're using strategies like that to an extent for juniors and seniors, not only in New Mexico, but across the nation, effectively letting them know that they are going to automatically qualify for a scholarship and gain admission based on what we know about them. And there's all kinds of resources where we can obtain names of prospective students. We purchase about 250 to 300,000 prospective student names each year. Down at the 8th grade level, we haven't done that, but there's nothing that would stop us from doing that, because if it's a conditional admission, meaning you need to keep on this path, then there's nothing that stops us from doing that. And it's a great idea. I hadn't thought of that.
I've got 6 or 7 more, but then I'll be done for the rest of the year.
Well, we need to just set up another meeting and reconnect. It's been a little while.
Okay, I look forward to it, Dan. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate the report. Colleagues, the next item on our agenda is a Canvas update. I'm really looking forward to this from Director Allen to help us understand this new system a little bit better than some of us do. Are you there? Thank you. Do we have any other questions, comments? Hearing none. Thank you, Stephanie. Oh, there is one. Okay. Aretha? Very good. I can't see the chat. I was a bit surprised. I thought there would be more templates from, well, I don't think there are any templates from arts and sciences, if I remember correctly, but I would have thought that there would be more from for freshman composition, for example. Am I right to assume that that set of templates is going to grow as our institution becomes more comfortable with Canvas? Okay. Okay, thank you. Ian? And Elijah, that is the link to that page. I don't remember seeing that in the when you log into Canvas. Is that it's probably wonderful. Thank you so much, Stephanie and Elisha, for that. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. Colleagues, the next item on our agenda is our COVID update. That's the last order of business for today. And we have the good Dr. Pitcher with us again. Thank you for agreeing to come in and speak with us. Dr. Pitcher, I know that we're having a COVID update, but I'm really concerned about monkeypox, and not so much with monkeypox, but some of the really remarkable, frankly, homophobic comments and expressions of, you know, that are circulating. Can you also tell us a little bit about monkeypox as well? Thank you. Any questions for Dr. Pitcher? Ian? Thank you. Sue?
Yes, I have a monkeypox question. As a healthcare provider in an outpatient setting with incidental skin-on-skin contact, what are the recommendations regarding wearing gloves at this time? Is it, because typically in an outpatient setting, we don't wear gloves unless there's a visible skin lesion. So I just wondered what your thoughts were on that. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions for Dr. Pitcher? Thank you, Dr. Pitcher. Appreciate that presentation, and we'll hopefully we won't have a need for many more of these. So thank you. Colleagues, is there any business from the floor? Hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you all. I appreciate your time. Have a great semester.